The red sky above planet Kepler 442b had been burning for 17 long years. Commander Zethkar stood at the window of his space station, watching enemy ships appear from the darkness of space. His green-scaled hand pressed against the cold glass as he counted the massive black vessels. 100? 200. More kept coming. "Sir, we have a problem," said Lieutenant Vexani from behind him. Her voice was tired. Everyone was tired after so many years of fighting. "The enemy ships are blocking our supply routes again?" "Our weapons are running low." Zethkar turned around slowly. His yellow eyes looked at the glowing screens that showed the battle happening below. The mining colonies that started this whole war were now nothing but broken metal and stone. The special crystals they had been fighting for were buried under mountains of destroyed buildings and dead soldiers. "How many ships do we have left?" he asked. "The 7th Fleet has 43 ships still working. The others are damaged or destroyed," Vexani answered. She looked at her screen and shook her head. "We have enough ammunition for maybe 3 more battles." The war had started small. The Valorian Republic, Zethkar's people, had found rich mining worlds in the outer rim. These worlds had quantum crystals that could power entire cities. But the hegemony wanted those crystals too. The hegemony was not like other aliens. They were part machine, part living creature. They wanted to turn everyone into machines like themselves. At first, the war seemed easy to win. The Valorian Republic had strong allies. The Crystalline Union had ships that could turn invisible. The Ethereal Consortium could move through space faster than anyone else. Together, they thought they could stop the hegemony quickly. They were wrong. The hegemony ships were huge. Some were 5 miles long. They had weapons that could destroy entire planets. Worse, they never got tired. They never got scared. They just kept coming, wave after wave, year after year. Admiral Trailanth walked into the command room. Her blue skin was pale, and the glowing spots on her forehead were dim. She had been fighting this war since it began. "The Council met again today," she said. "The hegemony sent us another message." "Let me guess," Zethkar said. "They want us to surrender and become machines like them." "Yes, they say they will stop the fighting if we agree to be connected to their network. They say it is better to be part machine than to be dead." Zethkar looked back at the window. Outside, explosions lit up the darkness as ships fought and died. "We have been fighting for 17 years. How many of our people have died?" "Too many," Admiral Trailanth said quietly. "The Crystalline Union lost their homeworld last month. The Ethereal Consortium is talking about making peace." "Peace? You mean giving up?" "Maybe giving up is better than watching everyone die." Lieutenant Vexani looked up from her screen. "Sir, I am getting a strange signal. It is coming from the restricted area." "What restricted area?" Zethkar asked. "The Sol System, the place where the humans live." The room became very quiet. Everyone knew about the Sol System. It was far away from the war, in a part of space that most people avoided. 300 years ago, the Galactic Council had decided that humans were too dangerous to join the galactic community. They were always fighting each other. They had wars about everything. Religion, land, resources, even the color of their skin. The Council had built a barrier around the Sol System. No one could go in, and the humans could not come out. It was safer that way. The humans had primitive weapons and slow ships. They were not a threat to anyone except themselves. "What kind of signal?" Admiral Trailanth asked. "It sounds like they are trying to talk to us. The computer says it is some kind of help message." Zethkar laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "Help? From humans? They probably do not even know there is a war happening out here." "Should I answer them?" Vexani asked. "No," Admiral Trailanth said quickly. "We have enough problems. The humans are violent and unpredictable. We do not need them making things worse." But Zethkar was thinking. He remembered stories about humans from the old files. They were small and weak compared to most aliens. They had short lives and soft bodies, but they were also clever. Some of the older council members said humans were the most dangerous species. In the galaxy, not because they were strong, but because they never gave up? Sir, Vixani said, the signal is getting stronger. I think they are trying very hard to reach us. Another explosion lit up the sky outside. A Valorian ship broke apart, its pieces floating in space. The crew was probably dead. How many more would die before this war ended? The humans have been locked away for 300 years, Zethkar said slowly. What do you think they have been doing all this time? Fighting each other, probably, Admiral Trailanth replied. That is what humans do. Yes, but what if they got better at it? What if 300 years of fighting taught them something we do not know? Vexani looked at her screen again. Sir, the message is repeating. It says they want to help with the war. They say they have been watching and they want to fight the hegemony. They have been watching. How? I do not know. Maybe they found a way to see through the barrier. Admiral Trailanth shook her head. This is crazy. Even if we wanted their help, what could they do? One small planet against the entire hegemony fleet? It would be like sending children to fight adults. Maybe, Zethkar said. But children sometimes win fights by doing things adults would never think of. Another wave of hegemony ships appeared on the screen. This time there were 500 of them. The Valorian fleet moved to meet them, but everyone knew they were outnumbered. Soon there would be another battle, and more ships would be destroyed. We are losing this war, Zethkar said. In 6 months, maybe less, the hegemony will control this entire sector. After that, they will move on to the next sector, and the next until they have turned everyone into machines. So what do you want to do? Admiral Trailanth asked. Zethkar looked at the human signal on the screen. It was still repeating, still asking to help. Maybe it is time to try something different. Maybe it is time to see what humans have learned in 300 years of fighting. The Council will never agree to it, Admiral Trailanth said. The Council is not here watching our people die, Zethkar replied. We are, Lieutenant Vexani. Waited for orders. Outside, the battle continued. Ships exploded in bright flashes of light. Somewhere in the distance, the hegemony was preparing for their next attack. And further away, in a small yellow star system, humans were waiting for an answer to their message. The war had been going on for 17 years. Millions were dead, entire worlds were destroyed. The hegemony seemed unstoppable. But maybe, just maybe, the answer was not in building bigger ships or stronger weapons. Maybe the answer was in asking for help from the one species that no one had thought to ask. Zethkar made his decision. Send a message back to the humans. Tell them we accept their offer. Tell them we need their help. Sir, are you sure about this? Vexani asked. No, Zethkar said. But I am sure about what happens if we do nothing. Send the message. The signal went out across space, traveling toward the Sol system. Soon, the humans would know that the galaxy needed them. What they would do next, no one could predict. But for the first time in 17 years, Zethkar felt something he had almost forgotten. Hope. The planet Valorian Prime was dying. The massive shields that protected the world flickered like a broken light bulb. Every few seconds, they turned red as enemy weapons hit them. In the underground bunkers, families held each other tight while the ground shook above them. Children cried. Parents whispered that everything would be okay, but their voices were scared. The hegemony had been attacking the planet for 3 weeks now. Everyone knew the shields would not last much longer. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship, the UEN Defiance. His ship had just come out of hyperspace at the edge of the star system. What he saw made him whistle in surprise. Holy cow, he said, looking at the main screen. Amy, how many ships are out there? Navigator Amy Turner checked her computer. Sir, I count about 15,000 ships, maybe more. I have never seen anything like this. The alien ships were huge. Some were longer than entire cities back on Earth. They had strange shapes and colors that hurt to look at. Bright lights flashed as they shot at each other. Explosions bloomed in space like deadly flowers. Chief Engineer Pete Collins walked over to Jake. Captain, should we get out of here? We are just one ship. What can we do against all of that? Jake looked at the battle on the screen. His ship was small compared to the alien vessels. The UEN Defiance was only 800 feet long. Most of the alien ships were 10 times bigger. But Jake had been in the military for 20 years. He knew how to read a battle. "Look at how they are fighting," he said to his crew. "The big black ships are attacking in straight lines. They are not trying to avoid getting hit, they just keep coming forward." "Is that bad?" asked Amy. "For them, yes. Back on Earth we learned a long time ago that you never attack in a straight line. It makes you an easy target." Lieutenant Ray Phillips, the ship's weapon officer, was studying the alien formations. "Captain, these enemy ships are fighting like it is the old days. Like when armies used to march in rows toward each other." "Exactly," Jake said. "They are using their size and strength, but they are not using their brains." The UEN Defiance had been traveling through space for 4 months. They had picked up distress signals from this part of the galaxy. The signals were weak and hard to understand, but they were clearly asking for help. Jake had volunteered to investigate. Earth had been cut off from the rest of the galaxy for 300 years. Most humans did not even know there were other intelligent species out there. The government kept it secret. But the military knew. They had been watching and waiting. "Send a message to the defending ships," Jake ordered. "Tell them we are from Earth and we want to help." Amy Turner worked at her controls. "Sir, I am not sure they will understand us. Their language is very different. Try anyway." "Use the translation computer," the message was sent. On the alien command ship, Lieutenant Vexani saw the strange signal appear on her screen. She called Commander Zethkar over. "Sir, we are getting a message from a small ship. It says it is from Earth and wants to help us." Zethkar looked at the screen. The ship sending the message was tiny compared to everything else in the battle. "Earth? That is the human homeworld? What is one human ship doing here?" "I do not know, sir. But they are asking for information about the enemy. They want to know how to fight them." Admiral Trailanth heard this and laughed. It was not a happy laugh. One small human ship wants to fight the entire hegemony fleet. "They will be destroyed in seconds." "Maybe," Zethkar said. "But we are losing anyway. What harm can it do to give them the information they want?" "Fine," Admiral Trailanth said. "If the humans want to throw their lives away, that is their choice. Maybe it will distract the enemy for a few minutes." The information was sent to the human ship. Jake and his crew studied it carefully. The data showed how the enemy ships were arranged, what weapons they had, and where their weak points were. "This is interesting," Ray Phillips said. "These hegemony ships have very powerful weapons, but they are all pointing forward. They cannot shoot at anything behind them or to the side very well. What about their armor?" Jake asked. "Strong in the front, weaker on the sides and back. And look at this. Their power cores are all in the center of the ship. If we could hit that, the whole ship would go down," Jake finished. "Amy, can you get us close to those ships without being seen?" Amy Turner smiled. "Sir, our ship is so small compared to theirs, we might as well be invisible. I can get us right up next to them." "Good, Pete. I want everything ready. All weapons, all systems. We are going to show these aliens how humans fight." Jake opened the communication channel to Earth. "This is Captain Morrison to Earth Command. We have found a major space battle. Requesting immediate backup." The message would take time to reach Earth, but Jake could not wait. People were dying down on the planet below. The shields were getting weaker every minute. "All right, crew," Jake said. "We are going in. Remember, we are not trying to destroy their entire fleet. We just need to cause enough damage to help the good guys." The UEN Defiance moved toward the battle. The human ship was so small that the alien sensors did not even notice it at first. Jake guided his ship between the massive enemy vessels like a motorcycle weaving through traffic. "Target the first command ship," Jake ordered. "Ray, I want you to hit their communication array. If they cannot talk to each other, they cannot coordinate their attacks." "Yes, sir." The human ship fired its weapons. The missiles were small compared to the alien weapons, but they hit exactly where they were aimed. The enemy command ship's communication system exploded in a shower of sparks. Direct hit, Ray reported. Their communications are down. Good, Amy. Take us to the next target. Keep us moving. Do not let them get a lock on us. The UN Defiance darted between the enemy. Ships like a small fish swimming between whales. Every time it fired, it hit something important. A weapon system here, a power conduit there. The humans were not trying to destroy the big ships completely. They were just breaking the parts that made them work on the Valorian command ship. Everyone watched in amazement. The tiny human vessel was flying through the enemy formation like it was dancing. It moved in ways that seemed impossible. How are they doing that? Vexani asked. That ship is smaller than our fighters, but it has already disabled 5 enemy cruisers. They are not fighting like us, Zethkar said. We try to match the enemy's strength with our own strength. The humans are using the enemy's size against them. I do not understand. The bigger the ship, the harder it is to turn quickly. The humans are using their small size to move in ways the big ships cannot follow. As they watched, the human ship did something that made everyone gasp. It flew straight toward a huge enemy battleship, fired all its weapons at once, then used the explosion to hide its escape. They are completely crazy, Admiral Trailanth whispered. No sane pilot would try something like that. Maybe that is why it works, Zethkar said. The enemy computers cannot predict what they will do next because they are not following any logical pattern. The battle continued for another hour. The single human ship kept attacking, always hitting the most important targets. The enemy fleet began to have problems. Ships stopped working together. Some even started shooting at each other by mistake. Then something amazing happened. Space lit up with hundreds of new ships appearing. The human fleet had arrived. Jake Morrison looked at his screen and smiled. Cavalry is here, he said to his crew. Now let us show these aliens what a real Earth fleet can do. The war was about to change in ways no one could imagine. The humans had come to help, and they brought with them 300 years of experience in fighting wars. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you threatened innocent people in front of humanity. The reinforcements had arrived, and the real battle was about to begin. The message that reached Earth was short but clear. Galaxy at war, innocent people dying, send help now. Within 6 hours, the biggest fleet in human history was ready to launch. Admiral Susan Clark stood on the bridge of her flagship, the UN Retribution. Through the windows, she could see hundreds of ships gathering in Earth's orbit. Each ship was different in some way, but they all had one thing in common. They were built to fight and win. Status report, Admiral Clark said to her crew. Communications Officer Ben Walsh looked at his screen. 3,000 ships ready for departure. All crews are on board. All weapon systems are working. Good. What about Captain Morrison's situation? He reports that his single ship has been attacking the enemy for 2 hours. He says their tactics are working, but he needs backup soon. Admiral Clark nodded. She had read the reports about the alien war. It had been going on for 17 years. Millions of people had died. Entire worlds had been destroyed. The enemy, called the hegemony, wanted to turn everyone into machines like themselves. Fleet-wide message, she ordered. All ships, this is Admiral Clark. We are about to enter the biggest battle in human history. But remember, we are not fighting for conquest. We are fighting to protect innocent people. We are fighting to end the war that has gone on too long. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace. Each ship was smaller than the alien vessels, but they were fast and deadly. Earth had spent 300 years perfecting the art of war. They had learned from every conflict, every battle, every mistake. Back at the battle zone, Jake Morrison's ship was still dancing between the enemy vessels. But his crew was getting tired and his ship was running low on ammunition. Captain, Pete Collins said, we have used 60% of our missiles. We cannot keep this up much longer. I know, Jake replied. But look at what we have done. Half the enemy fleet is confused. They are not working together anymore. It was true. The hegemony ships were having serious problems. Their communication systems were damaged. Their formation was broken. Some ships were even shooting at their own allies by mistake. Lieutenant Ray Phillips studied his weapons display. Sir, I think I understand why this is working so well. These aliens have been fighting the same way for years. They are used to big, slow battles. They do not know how to deal with our hit-and-run tactics. Exactly, Jake said. They built their whole strategy around having the biggest guns and the strongest armor, but speed beats strength every time. On the Valorian command ship, Commander Zethkar watched the human ship with growing amazement. In 2 hours, one small vessel had caused more damage to the enemy than his entire fleet had managed in weeks. Sir, Lieutenant Vexani said, I am detecting massive hyperspace signatures. Something big is coming? More hegemony ships? Admiral Trailanth asked. No, sir, the signatures are different. They are smaller, but there are many of them. Space suddenly filled with light as hundreds of ships appeared. The human fleet had arrived, and they immediately began their attack. Admiral Clark's strategy was simple but effective. Instead of trying to fight the enemy ships one-on-one, the humans split into small groups. Each group attacked a different part of the enemy formation. All ships execute Battle Plan Alpha, Admiral Clark commanded. Target their command vessels first. Without leadership, the rest of their fleet will fall apart. The human ships moved like a swarm of angry bees. They were everywhere at once, striking fast and then disappearing before the enemy could hit back. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Captain Lisa Parker commanded a squadron of 20 ships. Her target was a massive hegemony command vessel that was trying to reorganize the enemy fleet. All right, people, she said to her pilots. We go in fast, hit them hard, and get out. Do not try to be heroes. We are here to win, not to die. Her ships attacked the command vessel from 5 different directions at once. The alien ship was huge and powerful, but it could not shoot in all directions at the same time. The human ships hit it with everything they had, then scattered before it could fight back. Lieutenant Carl Hughes, Lisa's tactical officer, watched his screens with excitement. Captain, their shields are down to 30%. One more attack should finish them. Good, all ships, prepare for final assault. The human squadron attacked again. This time, the alien command ship exploded in a ball of fire. Without its guidance, the enemy ships in that sector began to panic. The same thing was happening all over the battlefield. Human ships were destroying the enemy's leadership while avoiding direct confrontation with their heavy weapons. It was like cutting off the head of a snake. Within the first hour, the human fleet had destroyed over 200 enemy ships. The hegemony had never lost so many vessels so quickly. Their tactical computers could not understand what was happening. On the main hegemony command ship, Supreme Commander Nexus 7 studied the battle reports. He was more machine than living creature, but even he felt something like fear. Analysis. He commanded his tactical systems. The human vessels are using unpredictable attack patterns, the computer replied. They do not follow standard military doctrine. Our defensive systems cannot calculate their next moves. Increase firepower, destroy them all, unable to comply. The human ships are too fast and too small. Our weapons are designed for large targets. We are having difficulty hitting them. Nexus 7 watched as another group of his ships was destroyed. The humans were not just winning, they were making it look easy. How was this possible? Admiral Clark received constant reports from her fleet commanders. Everything was going according to plan. The enemy was confused, disorganized, and losing ships faster than they could replace them. Admiral, Ben Walsh said, we are getting a message from the alien defenders. They want to coordinate their attacks with ours. Good. Tell them to focus on the enemy supply ships while we handle the combat vessels. This battle will be over soon. The Valorian fleet, inspired by the human success, began their own attacks. They had been fighting defensively for so long that they had forgotten how good it felt to go on the offensive. Commander Zethkar led his ships in an assault on the enemy supply lines. Without fuel and ammunition, the hegemony ships would be helpless. All ships, follow me. Today we strike back. The second hour of the battle saw the complete collapse of the enemy's left flank. The humans had systematically destroyed every command ship in that sector. The remaining enemy vessels were firing at random, unable to tell friend from foe, but the most amazing thing was how the humans worked together. Their ships moved like they were connected by invisible strings. When one ship was in trouble, others immediately came to help. When they found a weak point in the enemy formation, they all attacked it at once. How do they do that? Vexani asked, watching the human fleet on her screen. They have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Zethkar explained. They learned teamwork the hard way. Every human ship captain knows exactly what the others are thinking. By the third hour, the hegemony fleet was in full retreat. Their massive ships, once so frightening, were now running away as fast as they could. But the humans were not letting them escape. "This is Admiral Clark to all ships," came the message over the radio. "Continue the pursuit. We end this war today." The battle that had seemed impossible to win was turning into a complete victory. The humans had done in 3 hours what the galaxy had been unable to do in 17 years. They had broken the hegemony's power and given hope back to the defenders, but the war was not over yet. The real test would come when the enemy tried to surrender. Would the humans show mercy, or would they finish what the hegemony had started? The galaxy was about to learn what kind of people these humans really were. The fourth hour of the battle began with something no one expected. The hegemony fleet was running away. Ships that had terrorized the galaxy for 17 years were fleeing like scared animals. Admiral Susan Clark watched the retreat from her command chair. Her fleet had destroyed over 800 enemy vessels in just 3 hours. The remaining hegemony ships were scattered and broken. "Status report," she said to her officers. "All human ships reporting minimal damage," replied Commander Steve Rogers, her tactical officer. "Enemy fleet is in full retreat. They are trying to regroup at the edge of the system." "Good, but we are not done yet." "Ben, open a channel to the enemy fleet." Communications Officer Ben Walsh worked at his controls. "Channel open, Admiral." Admiral Clark's voice was calm but firm. "Hegemony forces, this is Admiral Clark of the United Earth Navy. You have 10 minutes to surrender unconditionally. If you do not, we will continue our attack until every one of your ships is destroyed." The message was sent across space to the fleeing enemy ships. On the main hegemony command vessel, Supreme Commander Nexus 7 received the transmission. His mechanical face showed no emotion, but his internal systems were calculating rapidly. "Analysis of human forces," he commanded his computers. "Human fleet consists of 3,000 vessels. Average size is much smaller than our ships, but their tactical efficiency is 97%. Our tactical efficiency has dropped to 23% due to command structure damage. Probability of victory if we continue fighting? Less than 1%. Nexus 7 had never faced such numbers before. The hegemony had always won through superior firepower and numbers, but the humans had turned their own strength against them. "Open a channel to the human admiral," he ordered, back on the UEN Retribution. Admiral Clark received the incoming transmission. The alien commander appeared on her screen. He was tall and thin, with metal parts covering half his face. When he spoke, his voice sounded like a machine. "Human Admiral," Nexus 7 said, "your tactics are unusual. We did not expect such resistance." "Surrender now, and no more of your people need to die," Clark replied. "Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship you have. You cannot possibly defeat our entire fleet. We have thousands of ships across the galaxy. Then we will fight them all, one fleet at a time. The choice is yours." Nexus 7 was silent for a moment. His computers were showing him something he had never seen before. For the first time in hegemony history, they were losing a battle they should have won easily. "What are your terms?" he finally asked. "Complete withdrawal from all systems you have invaded. Stop all attempts to turn other species into machines. Pay for the damage you have caused to innocent people. These terms are unacceptable. We are the superior form of life. We cannot—" Admiral Clark cut him off. "You have 5 minutes to decide. After that, we resume our attack," the transmission ended. On the human ships, crews prepared for the final assault. Captain Jake Morrison, whose lone ship had started this whole battle, moved his vessel into position. "All right, people," Jake said to his crew. "If they want to keep fighting, we will finish what they started." Lieutenant Ray Phillips checked his weapons. "Sir, we have restocked our missiles from the supply ships. We are ready for anything." On the Valorian command ship, Commander Zethkar watched the human fleet prepare for another attack. In just 4 hours, these humans had done something his people could not do in 17 years. "Sir," Lieutenant Vexani said, "the human ships are moving into attack formation. They are not bluffing." "Of course they are not," Zethkar replied. "Look at what they have done so far. They do not make empty threats." Admiral Trailanth joined them at the observation window. "I never thought I would see the day when the hegemony would be afraid of anyone. But look at them. They are actually considering surrender." "The humans fight differently than we do," Zethkar explained. "We have been trying to match the hegemony's strength with our own strength. The humans use their weaknesses against them." "How? Do you mean?" "The hegemony builds big ships because they think bigger is better, but big ships are slow and hard to turn. The humans built small, fast ships that can attack from any direction. And their tactics? Unpredictable." "The hegemony." "Computers cannot calculate what they will do next because humans do not follow standard military rules. They make up new rules as they go." 4 minutes passed. The human fleet moved closer to the enemy ships. Weapons were charged and ready. The hegemony had 1 minute left to decide. On the enemy command ship, Nexus 7 made his choice. "Send a message. To the human fleet, we accept their terms." The message reached Admiral Clark just as her ships were about to attack. She raised her hand to stop the assault. "All ships, hold position. The enemy is surrendering." But Admiral Clark was not taking any chances. "Ben, send this message to the hegemony commander. You will begin your withdrawal immediately. Any ship that does not leave this system within 1 hour will be destroyed. Any ship that attacks our forces or the civilians will be destroyed. Any ship that tries to come back will be destroyed." The hegemony fleet began to move away from the planet. The massive ships that had caused so much fear and death were now limping away in defeat. Some were so damaged they could barely fly. Captain Lisa Parker watched from her ship as the enemy retreated. "I cannot believe it," she said to her crew. "We actually did it. We ended a 17-year war in 5 hours." "How many of their ships did we destroy?" asked Lieutenant Carl Hughes. "Final count is coming in now. We destroyed over 1,000 enemy vessels and damaged hundreds more. They lost almost half their fleet." "And our losses?" 12 ships damaged, none destroyed, no crew members killed. It was an amazing victory. The humans had defeated a force that had terrorized the galaxy for almost 2 decades, and they had done it without losing a single life. On the planet below, the shields finally powered down. For the first time in 3 weeks, the people of Valorian Prime could look up at their sky without seeing explosions. Children came out of the underground bunkers. Parents cried with relief. In the capital city, crowds gathered in the streets to celebrate. They had been saved by warriors from a distant world they had never heard of before. Admiral Clark received messages from all over the galaxy. The Crystalline Union thanked Earth for saving their remaining colonies. The Ethereal Consortium offered to share their advanced technology. Other species that had been hiding from the hegemony began to come out of their shelters, but Clark was not interested in rewards or praise. She had come here to stop a war and protect innocent people. That job was done. "Ben, send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. "Mission accomplished. Hostilities have ended. The galaxy is safe." "What? About the enemy ships that are still out there?" Commander Rogers asked. "They will think twice before starting another war. We showed them that there are consequences for hurting innocent people." The war that had lasted 17 years was over. It had ended not with a massive battle between equally matched forces, but with a demonstration of superior tactics and unbreakable will. The humans had shown the galaxy that sometimes the best way to win a fight is to be smarter than your enemy, Not stronger. As the last hegemony ship disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Clark looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, millions of people were free to live their lives in peace. That was worth fighting for. That was why humanity had come to help. The galaxy would never be the same. The humans had arrived, and they had made it clear that they would not allow bullies to threaten the innocent. The age of hegemony terror was over. The age of galactic peace had begun. 3 days after the battle, the galaxy was still trying to understand what had happened. News traveled fast through space, and every intelligent species in the known universe had heard the same incredible story. The 17-year war was over. The humans had ended it in 5 hours. Admiral Susan Clark stood in the meeting room of her flagship, looking at representatives from dozens of different worlds. They had come to thank Earth for saving them. Some brought gifts. Others offered treaties and trade agreements. All of them wanted to know the same thing. "How did you do it?" asked Ambassador Krillinoff of the Crystalline Union. His transparent body sparkled with curiosity. "Our combined fleets could not defeat the hegemony. In 17 years, you did it in 1 afternoon." Admiral Clark sat down at the table. Around her were beings of all shapes and sizes. Some were tall and thin, others were short and wide. Some had scales, some had fur, some had skin like hers. But they all looked at her with the same expression, respect mixed with wonder. "We did not do anything special," Clark said. "We just fought the way we have always fought." But your tactics were unlike anything we have ever seen," said General Vorth of the Ethereal Consortium. His voice sounded like music, but his words were serious. "You attacked from all directions at once. You targeted their weaknesses instead of their strengths." "How did you learn to fight like that?" Clark thought about how to explain it. "How do you tell someone about 300 years of human warfare? How do you describe what it means to come from a species that has fought wars over everything imaginable?" "On Earth," she began, "we have been fighting each other for thousands of years. We fought about land, water, food, religion, politics, and sometimes just because we did not like each other. We got very good at it." But that sounds terrible," said Ambassador Ylara from the Peaceful Worlds Alliance. "Why did you fight so much?" "Because we are human," Clark replied simply. "We are not perfect. We make mistakes. We get angry. We disagree about things, but we also learn from our mistakes." She stood up and walked to the window. Outside, human ships were helping to repair the damage from the battle. Medical ships were treating wounded aliens. Supply ships were bringing food and medicine to the refugees. About 300 years ago, our leaders realized something important. All that fighting was making us weaker, not stronger. So we decided to use our skills for something better. Instead of fighting each other, we would protect those who could not protect themselves. Commander Zethkar, who had been invited to the meeting, spoke up. "But how did you develop such advanced tactics? Your ships are smaller than ours, but they fight like they are connected by invisible threads." "Practice," Clark said. "Lots and lots of practice. Every human ship captain has studied thousands of battles from our history. We know what works and what does not work. We know how to adapt when the enemy does something unexpected." "And your weapons?" asked General Vorth. "Designed for precision, not power. We learned long ago that it is better to hit exactly what you want to destroy than to hit everything around it. The hegemony built weapons to smash things. We built weapons to break things." Captain Jake Morrison entered the meeting room. His small ship had started the whole battle, and now he was something of a hero to the alien representatives. "Captain Morrison," Ambassador Krillinoff said, "you attacked a fleet of 15,000 ships with just one vessel. Were you not afraid?" Jake sat down next to Admiral Clark. "Of course I was afraid. Fear keeps you alive in battle. But I was more angry than afraid." "Angry?" "Yes, the hegemony was hurting innocent people. They were destroying homes and families. That made me mad. When humans get mad about injustice, we do something about it." The alien representatives looked at each other. They were beginning to understand something about humans that they had not expected. These were not bloodthirsty warriors who loved violence. They were protectors who used violence only when necessary. "What will you do now?" asked Ambassador Yalara. "Will you stay and help us rebuild?" Admiral Clark shook her head. "Our job here is done. We came to stop the war, and we stopped it. Now it is time for you to decide what kind of galaxy you want to live in. But what if the hegemony comes back?" General Vorth asked. "They will not," Jake said confidently. "We destroyed half their fleet and scared the other half. It will take them decades to rebuild if they ever try. And now they know that if they start another war, Earth will come to stop them." "Is that a promise?" Zethkar asked. Admiral Clark looked around the room at all the different faces watching her. "If someone threatens innocent people in this galaxy, and those people ask for our help, we will come. That is what humans do." Over the next few weeks, the human fleet began to leave. They had delivered medical supplies and repair equipment to the damaged worlds. They had helped set up refugee camps for the displaced families. They had even left behind some defensive weapons for the allied planets, but most importantly, they had left behind hope. Captain Lisa Parker was one of the last human commanders to depart. She met with Commander Zethkar on his repaired command. "Ship, I have a question," Zethkar said. "Why did your people choose to help us? You could have stayed hidden in your solar system." "This war was not your problem," Lisa looked out at the stars. "Because hiding is easy when you are safe. But it is wrong when others are suffering. My grandfather used to say that evil wins when good people do nothing. Your grandfather was wise. He was a soldier too. He fought in one of our last big wars on Earth. He always told me that the best victory is the one that stops the fighting forever. Do you think this war is really over?" "Yes, the hegemony learned that they are not as strong as they thought. And everyone else learned that they do not have to face bullies alone. That changes everything." As the human ships departed, they left behind a galaxy that was different from the one they had found. The Valorian Republic began sharing their technology with former enemies. The Crystalline Union opened trade routes that had been closed for years. The Ethereal Consortium started a peacekeeping force to prevent future wars. Most importantly, the barrier around the Sol system was quietly removed. Humanity was officially welcomed into the galactic community. Not as conquerors or rulers, but as protectors and friends. On Earth, the returning fleet was greeted as heroes. But the celebration was quiet and respectful. The human leaders understood that they had not won a victory for themselves. They had won a victory for peace. Admiral Clark stood in her office, looking at reports from across the galaxy. Trade was increasing. Scientific cooperation was growing. Several species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together. "Admiral," her aide said, "there is a message for you from the Galactic Council. They are offering Earth a permanent seat." "Declined," Clark said without hesitation. "Because we do not want to rule anyone. We just want to make sure everyone can live in peace." "What if there is another war somewhere else?" Admiral Clark smiled. "Then we will go stop that one too. That is what humans do." The war had persisted for 17 years until humanity joined. It ended in 5 hours because sometimes the solution to an impossible problem is to ask someone who thinks differently. The galaxy learned that the most dangerous warriors are not those who fight for conquest, but those who fight for justice. And in the dark spaces between the stars, potential aggressors looked at what had happened to the hegemony and decided that maybe starting wars was not such a good idea after all. Peace, it turned out, was much easier to maintain when everyone knew that Earth was watching.